Imagine you want to buy a new coffee machine. Would you buy the model with 5 stars but only 1 review? Or the model with a 3.9 rating but over 400 reviews? According to a recent Forbes article, more people would go home with the 3.9 version. Now, why is that? Why do we trust what others say so much that we would actually choose the machine rated lower? I've been homeschooling for over 20 years, and during those years, I've read a lot of statistics about homeschooling. They are found everywhere these days as more and more families are choosing this path. And while I might let a few reviews kind of sway me one way or the other as to which coffee maker I want to buy, as far as homeschooling goes, I really don't care. Today, I want to chat with you for a few minutes about this tsunami of homeschooling statistics and reviews, and why I really don't think you should care about them either. Hi, my name is Laura from The Living Homeschool. I've been homeschooling for over 20 years. I have 3 children. We use the Charlotte Mason method in our homeschool, and in this channel, I hope to encourage and inspire and help out in any way that I can, beginner all the way up to veteran homeschooling moms. So I don't want you to think that I am somehow heartless when I say I don't care about these homeschooling stats, because I really do care very much for the homeschooling community. Quite the opposite. I started this channel because I care very deeply about the homeschooling community, and I want to help it to grow and flourish in whatever little way that I can. And the statistics about homeschooling are actually very wonderful. I'm going to refer to my notes quite a bit here, so I hope you don't mind. But according to the National Education Research Institute, in 2024 to 2025, there were 3.4 million children in the U.S. being homeschooled. That is over 6% of the school-age population just in the United States, and that is trending upward every year. Homeschool students typically score between 15 and 25 percentile points higher than public school students. And 62% of peer-reviewed studies on academic achievement show that homeschool students perform statistically significantly better than those in traditional schools. And this regardless of parent education or household income. It also showed that there is no statistical difference between parents who are certified teachers teaching the children in their homes compared to parents who are not certified teachers. There also was no statistical difference between children living in highly regulated states compared to children who are living in states with very few homeschooling regulations. Homeschooling students score significantly higher on the ACT and the SAT tests for college admissions, and they are often actively recruited by colleges. 64% of peer-reviewed studies showed that homeschool students performed statistically significantly better than conventional schools on social, emotional, and psychological development assessments. Can we just put the whole socialization thing to bed? 54% of peer-reviewed or representative samples studies on success in adulthood showed that homeschooled adults performed significantly better than those who attended institutional schools. And the rest of the studies showed really no statistical difference, indicating that there were very few poor outcomes. Now, there are a lot of factors here, and it's hard to say, did homeschooling significantly affect one thing or the other? Is there causation here, or is it just a correlation? But I think common sense tells us a whole lot. When the teacher-student ratio is a 1-to-1, when the teacher has a vested interest in the success of the students, and the fact that homeschooling is a major sacrifice for families, money, time, energy, life choices, all of these things would seem to indicate that there is a great desire for success in the homeschool. So if this data is so robust in its support of homeschooling, why do I not care? Now, certainly I'm happy about it. I mean, I'm thrilled that homeschoolers are outperforming the other educational systems, and I hope and pray for its continued success. But the reason I don't care is because, unlike a coffee maker, I didn't make my decision to homeschool or to continue homeschooling over the last 20 years based on reviews. My personal decision to raise up my children in the way that I think is best had no reliance on, nor has it been influenced ever by statistics or social trends. I just really don't care about them. And here's the thing, I would homeschool my children even if all of the stats went exactly in the opposite direction. If every metric discouraged it, I would still choose to homeschool my children. Now, am I a pompous know-it-all? I hope not. Am I resistant to criticism? No. In fact, I think if I had the option of being highly disliked and being dipped in a vat of hot oil, I'd honestly have to think a minute about that decision. That's how much I loathe criticism and how much I fear conflict. Why I chose YouTube and social media is kind of beyond me still. It's still a bit of a wonder. But regardless, if those aren't the reasons for why I chose to homeschool, then why did I? Well, for me, and you will have to assess yourself personally, but maybe you can get some encouragement if you're already homeschooling or if you're considering it, if you're homeschool curious. Maybe some of the things that I share with you now will be the tipping factor into this wonderful lifestyle. All right, so first of all, I am guided by a philosophy. Now, for me and our homeschool, it has been the Charlotte Mason philosophy. You may have a different philosophy or a means for education, and that is fine. And I would be the first one to say, if it's working for you and your children are thriving in your homeschooling, then I think you should continue in the path that you are traveling down. I am thoroughly in love with the Charlotte Mason method. I think it is a marvelous way to raise children and to run your homeschool, but you may be convinced of something different, and that is great. And we can kind of come together in this way that all of us should have some kind of understanding as to what we're doing here. We should all be guided by some philosophy, something that we deeply believe in. And that involves, who are children? What is the role of a teacher? How best do children learn? And so for me, that has been the Charlotte Mason method, because I understand through my study of this method what education means. What does that word mean? And how is it best done? I believe that I know how children learn best and how to help them in that. I have a mission statement. I have a purpose for what I'm doing here. And this philosophy, which is wonderful about the Charlotte Mason philosophy, is that there is a lot of theory, but that theory is the foundation. It undergirds the what and the how. And so the why of the philosophy undergirds and supports the what and the how. It's not just a philosophy of theory, it is a practical philosophy. So it involves also a method of education. So I understand what's going on underneath and supporting all of these reasons for what I am doing with my children. So we have this pathway to accomplish the mission. I've studied lots of other paths. I come from a traditional public school teacher background, and I looked at all different kinds of ways of educating children before I landed on the Charlotte Mason method. And for me, I was convinced that this was the best for our family. And then I put my stake in the ground and I committed to the journey. Next, I was committed to the belief that children thrive best within their families, that parents and not peers should be children's primary influencers. I believed in the value of slow and calm, quiet days of quality learning within the home, and then purposeful and plenty of time outside of the home as well, with a dedicated time with friends. I believed in my responsibility to protect and extend childhood. Childhood is short, and once it's over, it's gone forever in the life of your children. And so I determined very early on that I was going to do everything within my power to protect the innocence of childhood and to extend it as long as I can. And homeschooling really gives parents the ability to do that. These are slow and growing years filled with lots of play. I have found in my children that they were able to play with toys and play games and draw and color and do all these wonderful imaginative kinds of activities and play that children do in childhood much longer than children who were in the public schools. I know my kids probably would have been laughed off the playground if the public school kids had seen how my children played and how old they were when they were still playing with toys and enjoying all of those kinds of things. And I have cherished that. And I will tell you, my adult children are just fine. They're not weird and goofy. They are thriving adults, doing very, very well in the world. But what I was able to do was give them a very long childhood, and a childhood full of play with toys and all kinds of learning activities and games, because they weren't pressured into growing up too quickly. They had lots of time to be creative. And one of the big things nowadays is the phone exposure. Children in the homeschool can be protected from too early exposure to things of the world through this little handheld device that still blows my mind that parents hand a little device to their children when they only have a few years of innocence before they have to be faced with the cruelties and the wickedness of the world. And we will place this device in their hands and give them unfettered access to every perversion and wickedness and sadness and scary thing that this world has to offer. And I can't hardly fathom that we would do that. I would encourage you to think long and deep about that. And even if you do hold the phone back from your own children, I'm telling you, if they go to school, they are seeing these things. Ask me how I know. My husband is a 30-year public school teacher, and parents would be stunned to know what their children are viewing and seeing on these little screens every day. Even if your child doesn't have a phone, they have access to them because for whatever reason, we are giving them unfettered access in the school day. And I know some states are starting to crack down on that and making it illegal or whatever kind of law or statute they've put into place. But they're still seeing it because now we've required the classroom teacher to be the monitor of that. And it's, that's like putting toothpaste back in the tube at this point. It is a losing battle. And so being at home, in your home, being protected from a lot of the worldly things for a little bit longer is one of the major reasons of why we chose to homeschool, having very little peer pressure and negative pressure throughout the day, that they can just grow and become the people that they are, and not criticized for their individual likes and interests and choices that they make. So that's been a big one for me, and I would encourage you to not buy into the sheltered children nonsense. Even the little plants, we harden them up before we put them outside, don't we? Our children need a quiet time of growing and enjoying the innocence of their child. There's a whole lot of time to be an adult and have to deal with this sometimes sad and cruel world. All right, moving on. As I said before, I use the Charlotte Mason method in our homeschool, and Charlotte Mason just measured success differently from what traditional schools did then and certainly what they do now. Rather than focusing on standardized test scores and graduation rates and college attendance stats, instead we ask, do they love learning? When they leave my homeschool, have they gained in wisdom and character? Has learning become a part of who they are as they go into life? Do they have meaningful relationships relationships with ideas and books and nature and people. My severely dyslexic adult son will still call me sometimes and talk to me about a book that he's reading. He called me a couple months ago mentioning a book. He's like, you should really read this. And it wasn't even because it was a great book in terms of the content, although he did say it was, but he loved the structure of the book. He loved the way that the author kind of approached how she put the book together, and was so different from a traditional book. And he wanted to share that with me. My daughter sends me pictures of nature that she takes when she's out and about with her friends or coming home from work. She'll send me a picture of the sunset or a picture of the little ducks, whatever she sees, but she loves it so much, and then she'll send that to me. My son was building Legos the other day, and he called me up to look at the moon. Those kinds of things that you can't quantify. The wonder, the delight, the curiosity, the attentiveness, the appreciation of beauty, the love of books, and the immoral imagination. Those things you cannot put on a spreadsheet. Modern education tells us, show me the data and then we'll decide. Charlotte Mason says, understand the principles, faithfully apply them, and trust the results. And I can tell you that children are born persons. They are not data points. And I have seen over and over and over again, children growing up in this method and becoming adults and going into the world and handling it so successfully. A dear friend of mine, one of her children who grew up on all of these living books and literature and history, is set to be a pediatric neurosurgeon within the next couple of years. My own daughter is working hard at the job that she's chosen, has saved up her money, bought a car for herself, and is learning all kinds of homemaking skills as she wants to become a homemaker and raise her children and homeschool them. My son is a successful salesman. I know other Charlotte Mason moms in the virtual online world whose children have gone on to be AI consultants and doctors and scientists and Bible translators, and just innumerable different things that they go on to do, even with this one method of education. I never did homeschool because it was popular or because it was trendy, but I believed that faith, family, the educational philosophy that I use, and the freedom to spend our days in the way that we see fit was key for success for my children and the kind of life that I wanted to give them. I'm not working diligently to achieve an average homeschool or an above average homeschool or even a top 1% homeschool. I am building my homeschool, one that faithfully serves the unique children who were entrusted to me. And you are building your homeschool, faithfully working hard for the unique children entrusted to you. The rise and fall of homeschooling statistics do not determine what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. National homeschooling statistics can tell us how many families are choosing this path and how well they are doing. And I am thrilled for the community that I love, that the stats show that the children really are growing and flourishing. Homeschool kids are thriving. But they can't tell us if a child fell in love with history from a living book that was read, or whether a nature walk sparked a lifelong love of bird watching, or whether years of narration taught a child to think deeply. These things don't fit neatly into a graph, and I really am okay with that. If you would like more help on beginning your homeschooling journey, I have a beginner's guide workshop that is free for you down below. If you have more interest in this Charlotte Mason method I keep rattling on about, I also have a masterclass that you can look for down below. It is free as well. I hope you'll take advantage of those offerings and they can help and encourage you. If this video has been of value to you, I would love it if you would like and subscribe to the channel so that the almighty algorithm can keep pushing things forward and getting more content to you. Blessings in your journey, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.